What's going on, everyone? This is Sulky, and in this video I'm going to teach you how to understand everything you are looking at in the menus for Dead by Daylight, because when you first log into the game it can be very overwhelming to understand what is going on. So we're going to break all of it down, including all of these, as well as the character menu screens for when you're about to go into the game. Now, before we get started, I just want to let you all know I stream on Twitch every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and we do play a lot of Dead by Daylight over on my channel. If you want to ask any questions, please feel free to do so over there, or if you want to just hang out and vibe while I play some DBD, that sounds good too. Link is in the description below. So let's first get started with this main menu screen. This is gonna start to look different, this background right here, depending on which chapter was just released. Now, Dead by Daylight has a lot of DLC, and a couple of days ago the Resident Evil chapter just dropped. So as you can see here, we have the Raccoon Police Department building set up right here, and that's essentially to promote the new chapter. So this right here is the brand new tutorial that just came out for Dead by Daylight, and it does have a lot of good information in it. I actually went over the tutorial and put my own spin on it to make it even more informative for you. So if you're interested in checking that out, go ahead and click that video right there. But basically the tutorial is going to give you an overview of how to play as a survivor, how to play as a killer, and then put you in games with AIs. And it's actually pretty intuitive and gives you a good feel of what a beginner game will be like. Once you do that, you will be able to get charms, and we'll go into clothing and aesthetics and all that good stuff later on. But basically, if you want to, you could go through this. The game manual is also pretty good. It gives you just brief, digestible information on every part of Dead by Daylight. Like I said, I covered this in my video, but go ahead and read through this just so you can get a basic understanding of what the game is, what survivors do, and what killers do in a match. Now let's move on to the archives. Now the archive is something that is constantly getting updated in DBD, so you'll always have an opportunity to do new goals. There is something called a tome that is part of the Rift. Let's break it down. First, the Rift is a timed event. There is a free option for it and a premium option for it. As you play games in DBD, you will get Rift fragments, and however many you get will progress your bar in here. So as you can see right now, we're on page 8 of 9, so there's a ton of content in here, and basically what you will find in the Rift is a bunch of new items, including charms, which you could wear on your character's waist, as well as new clothing that you can give to your character. Now, if you unlock the premium one, you're obviously going to get much more content, including something called an Orexel, but we'll get into that when we go through a deeper dive of what to see on your character's menu later on in the video. If you want to learn more about it now, go ahead and click the timestamp for it. Basically, this is just a bunch of aesthetics that you can get for your character. Besides the aesthetics, one of the things you can do to progress in the Rift and get Rift fragments is to complete the current tome. So right now we are in tome 7. It's going to close in 27 days, so you do have a good opportunity to get as much done as possible. And there are different levels in the tome for you to complete. So when a tome first opens, you start at level 1, and once a specific amount of time passes, you'll get to the next level. So right now we could see that the 4th level of this tome is going to be released in 6 days. Now we can continue working on the ones that we're doing, but enough of all that. Let's actually talk about what a tome is and what these are in it. So basically, these are just objectives that the game wants you to do in exchange for blood points. You'll have a survivor track. As you can see here, this is the survivor icon, this circle right here, whereas this is the killer's icon, which is a skull. So there are different objectives for whether you're playing as survivor or as killer. They'll start off easy and then get harder as you progress through it. So first, they want you to repair 4 generators. That's something that you would typically do when you're playing the game anyway, so it's a great way to not only get those Rift fragments, but you're also going to get blood points for completing these tasks. And all you have to do is click on a task that you want to do, and then when you go into your character screen, you can see it come up right here. So basically what I'm doing right now is attempting to sabotage 12 hooks, and they'll give you the specifics on whether it needs to be done in one trial. If it doesn't say anything, you can take as many trials as you want. So this one in particular doesn't need to be done in just one trial, and you can see here that I will get 30,000 blood points for completing this challenge. And as you progress, you'll start to see some harder things, like you'll need to use specific perks in order to complete the challenge. So it gets tougher as you go along. Some of them could be tedious, like heal a total of 10 health states of other survivors. But for the most part, these are things that you are doing in the game. The perks ones might not be that, but it at least gives you a new, refreshed way of playing the game and figuring out how you can incorporate those perks into your build in order to successfully complete a challenge. We just talked a lot about blood points, and we also mentioned Orexels. So let's dive into what those actually mean. So Orexels are basically a currency that you use in the game that could be equated to real money. So these are something that you can actually buy from the store. So if we go into the store, we could see these Orexel Packs here, 500 for $5 and so on and so forth. Obviously, the more money you spend on it, the more you will save. And you use these to purchase characters or purchase outfits for characters you already own. So as you can see here, say we go to Lori. We do not own Lori, but to unlock her, we need 250 Orexels. Right now, Lori is 50% off because the game is actually having a sale. So you could see right here that we could buy her if we want to. Besides unlocking the characters, you could also see here that we could purchase an outfit for Lori. So if we want the full outfit, it'll be this much, but if we say we just want the hair for her, it'll be 400. So you can mix and match your outfits. Let's use a better example. Let's go to, say, Nancy here, right? We can either buy this outfit or we can mix and match. Say we want this hair, but we don't want the rest of the outfit. And that's going to just cost in-game money. Now, there are other ways to unlock characters, and that's with iridescent shards. Now, basically, iridescent shards add up based on your player progression. They're also a currency that you can potentially use sometimes. So say we want to buy this Huntress outfit right here. We can see that we can purchase it with Orexels, but we can also purchase it with the iridescent shards. And this is obviously going to be more expensive because you are not using real money. So right now we cannot afford the Huntress if we were going to use iridescent shards. Now this is going to take a while to build up. Besides outfits and characters, there's also another thing you could use for your iridescent shards, and that's purchasing teachable perks in the Shrine of Secrets. Now, the Shrine of Secrets has 4 random perks in it each week, and it refreshes every 7 days. So it's every Tuesday night for me that the shrine refreshes. And you'll see 4 perks in here that are orange. Every single time the shrine updates, it will give you 2 killer perks and 2 survivor perks. And they're 2,000 iridescent shards. Now, say we already unlocked Rancor. You can repurchase the perk that you already own, and you will get 150,000 blood points instead of the teachable perk because you already had it. So if you're low on blood points and need them for whatever reason, you can decide to do that. But basically, teachable perks are really important because you want to be able to customize your character, whether you're playing as killer or survivor, using other characters' perks to make your build better. For example, so right now we could see that I'm playing Nancy. And Nancy is going to come with 3 of her own perks that are unique to her. You can see under Better Together, it says that it's a teachable Nancy Wheeler perk. Each survivor's perks can unlock at different levels. So we can see here that Better Together is first, meaning when Nancy reaches level 30, this orange perk, Better Together, will then come up in her blood web. And once we hit it down and purchase that teachable perk, we can then go into, say, Steve and start using his blood web, and eventually we will see Better Together in his blood web, and he can now use a Nancy perk. So instead of leveling up a character the old-fashioned way. If you see something you like in the Shrine of Secrets, you can just purchase it and then start leveling up that character. So let's go back to the story and give an example. So say we want Jane's head-on perk. We can purchase it and then start leveling up Nancy in her blood web, and eventually we will see Jane's perk head on in there. Now this is a good segue into the actual character menu. This is a blood web. You're gonna see it when you're ready to start playing a game. Now you can look through your blood web and see different types of things to spend your points on. Let's first talk about colors, because that's the first thing we're going to see. Brown is going to be common items and the least expensive. They're always going to be 3,000. Then you're going to move up to yellow, which are a little bit better items than the brown. They're still pretty cheap at 4,000. Green, 5,000 points, purple 6,000, and pink 7,000 points, and also being the most rare items in the game. You're typically going to see these as add-ons when they are pink, and add-ons are items that you use in conjunction with your actual item. Now items in the game include the toolbox, the flashlight, the med kit, as well as keys and maps, and they all play a purpose in your gameplay, but we'll go into that more in a minute. So as you're going along the blood web, you'll see all of those different things, but you'll also start to see perks in it, and they're going to be different colors. Now perks start off as yellow and then get better in green and then max out at purple. So as you can see here, we see that borrowed time is yellow for us, meaning it's at its most basic state as a perk. As we level up borrowed time, and to do that, we just need to continuously go through our blood web. Here, I'll show you an example of it right now. See us buying different items. Now our hope is that borrowed time will come up in this next one, though it might, it's not guaranteed to come up in the next one, but we can look out and see. So we do see borrowed time here, and we see that it's green. So we have it as yellow right now. When it goes to green, we could say that it's now at 10 seconds. So look for the highlighted language in the description. So here we see endurance status effect for 10 seconds, whereas this one is 8 seconds. So it made the perk just a little bit better by a couple of seconds more. And that's essentially what happens with these perks. They just get a little better as you level them up. So we also see in here Dead Hard as a purple perk, meaning this is the best Dead Hard can possibly be. And as you can see here, this is also a David perk. So this is not Nancy's perk. So that means that we leveled up David to 35. So remember before I said level 30 will unlock the first one? Well, level 35 is where you unlock the second teachable perk. And then at level 40, you unlock all teachable perks for that specific character. So because we leveled up David to 35, we were able to make Dead Hard a teachable perk and then find it in Nancy's blood web. So that's what that means. Now, speaking of perks, like I said, you want to mix and match them based on your gameplay style. I have perks that I love to use in builds, and one of those is borrowed time. Now I'm not going to go in depth with perks today. I'll save that for another video, but basically you want to mix and match your perks based on your play style, which you'll come to learn as you continuously play the game. But that's how to read that. You are going to start off with just the basic. Let's go to Leon right now. I have not touched Leon yet, but as you can see here, it'll prompt you to learn about Leon's 3 perks. If you hover over them, you can learn more about them. You just hit OK, and then you can see here that because Leon is level 1, he only has 1 perk slot open, and they'll let you know when the other perk slots will open up. So we can only put 1 in for right now. As I said before, as you begin to go through your blood webs, you will see that you will level up your character. Now let's take a look at what's going on here, because there's a lot of different levels and things going on in the corner, right? We went over this one. This is your level. This is mostly to let you know where you're at if you're trying to prestige a character or if you're trying to unlock their teachable perks. Now let's move on to some of the other things that are on the screen here. So we went over all of our currencies. Now let's talk about this right here. This is a survivor rank. So when you are readying up and going into a match, Dead by Daylight is going to attempt to put you in a match with players who are around the same level as you. Now, sometimes that doesn't happen and you get unlucky and you end up versing someone that's way better at the game than you are. But for the most part, this is what they're looking out for. This is your rank. As you can see to the left right here, you see those 5 dots and 2 of them have ticks through those. We call those pips. Now, as you play games, you're going to either do really well and meet all of the goals for a survivor, whether it be your objectives or your altruism, whatever it may be. You do well in the 4 categories laid out for you. You will start getting more ticks on your progression. So you start off at rank 20, meaning you're a beginner at the game. That is the worst that your rank could be, for lack of a better word. 1 is the best your rank could be. And you'll see the colors start to change as you go through the ranks. Now, I'm just going to pull this up momentarily just so you can get a better idea of what it looks like. So as I said, rank 20 is a beginner level. You're going to see that gray brownish color that you also happen to see in the blood web. So you can get a better idea of their color ranking system, right? And then I said before, yellow is like somewhat okay. You're going to see that once you hit rank 16 up to rank 13. And then you're going to go into the green ranks, which are rank 12 to rank 9. And then you're going to get into 8 purple ranks. As I said before, we saw that the perks in the blood web, purple was the best for perks. Purple is still really good here, but then they also included red in here, which is the red ranks. Those are some of the best killers that you're going to fight for the most part, and ending at rank 1. If we go back to the game over here, you'll see that this is a seasonal thing. So on the 13th every month, your rank is going to reset, and it's going to vary. So I was at rank 4 on the 12th, and then I went up to rank 9 when the rank reset happened on the 13th. As you get better and you can continue to maintain the same rank, it's not going to jump as drastically as it would when you're just starting off. Now, this right here is your player level. It basically is going to represent your overall progression. How much are you playing the game? How well do you do when you play? This is really just for you to look at. And that's essentially it for all of this up here. We do have the character info that we were using to look at when we were going over teachable perks, but you can also get some lore in here for the different characters. It'll also tell you what chapter they are from. On the top right here, you're going to see a difficulty level for the character, and that doesn't have anything to really do with the character itself, but more so with their perks and how well they work together and how tough it'll be to use those perks to successfully win a match. I don't pay too much attention to this. As I said before, I kind of like to customize my character. If I'm using Nancy, I might use one of her perks, but maybe I want to also use one of Quentin's, so it'll change based on how you decide to customize that character with those specific perks. We went through all of these so far. I do want to start to go over killer as well. Now, unlike survivors, you could use whatever survivor you want and use the same perks on every survivor. It's not going to make much of a difference. Whereas when you play as killer, there is going to be a difference, right? Each killer has its own unique ability. If you go into your loadout, you'll see right here, you saw the perks. You will get to learn about their power and how to use it successfully and strategically in a match. Each one has their own power. We're on the Wraith right now, who has the ability to cloak himself and become invisible. Whereas if we use someone like Freddy, he has the ability to teleport to different generators on the map, as well as use a dream snare to put a survivor in the dream world. So it's pretty complex. There's a lot to it and a lot to understand about the different types of killers. And basically who you pick primarily falls on what kind of play style you have. Whereas someone with Freddy would put on a lot of gen pressure and have a lot of fun doing the teleportation and things. Whereas someone like The Huntress has to rely on aim and deals with hitting survivors from afar. So it's things like that that you want to read about to better understand these characters and what their perks are. Now, I wanted to point something out because this info menu for killers is a little bit different. You can see how fast a killer is, their terror radius as a base, this could be changed with add-ons, and how tall they are. This is important to talk about here, right? We look at someone like the Huntress, who has a 4.4 base speed, and then we look at someone like Freddy, 4.6. So Freddy is a bit faster than the Huntress, but that's okay because the Huntress isn't really relying on those typical chases that some of the other killers would give survivors, because the Huntress has the ability to throw hatchets at a distance. So she doesn't technically need to be that close to a survivor to down them. So her speed is a little bit lower, but she makes up in the ability to do those range attacks. So I just want to make that known. Also, the terror radius you see is a bit different. Freddy has a wider terror radius at 32 meters, whereas the Huntress is at 20 meters. You also see that Freddy has an average height. I actually think that he's quite small compared to the Huntress, who is pretty tall. So those are just all things to keep in mind that are unique to all of these different killers. Here you can also go through them pretty quick and look at all of the powers that each of these killers has. But basically, survivors are going to need to understand how to verse that specific killer, because their play style, to say playing the Oni, is going to be much different if they're playing the Doctor, whereas they might rely on stealth for the Oni, but they can't really rely on stealth when they play against the Doctor. Now, I want to just briefly go over this one more time because we didn't look at this up close, but this is the character customization panel where you can get outfits put on to change up the look of your character if you would so like to, or you could just decide maybe you want to put on that hat with this outfit and this weapon, and you could do the same things for survivors. And like I said before, you can head on over to the store and either use those Orexels to purchase outfits or use Iridescent Shards to get that character without spending real money. All right, now there's a couple more things I want to go over. That one is custom games. So if you have 4 to 5 of your friends that you would like to play with, you can put yourself in a custom game. You can either play as the killer, or you can decide you want to play as the survivor, and you only need 3 survivors, but you can have up to 4 to play. But you must have 1 killer. And this is a way for you to play with your friends and potentially get some practice in, right? Because you're not going to be playing with anyone that's random. You could also have people spectate the match as well if you have more than 5 people interested in playing. What you need to know about this is you have access to every single perk in the game. So not only is it a great way to practice, but it's a great way to start to understand these different kinds of perks, right? You can put together a build and see how it works out. And your build is going to be different for each killer that you're playing, whereas it might not be so different for your survivors. But just keep that in mind. And it has the same menu as we saw in the character and killer screens. Now, the last thing that I want to bring up is the daily ritual at the bottom. So right here, you're just going to see your friends list. You can also access your friends list right here. But the daily rituals are another way for you to get some blood points by doing specific tasks. And they'll give you 3. And essentially what you want to do is try and complete these. You have the option to get rid of it if you don't like that one, and then you can get a new one. But basically they're generated every day, and you have 3 active at a time. And that's just a good way. I mean, it's a decent amount of blood points. 30 to 35,000 is pretty good. And it gives you the option to start playing with maybe different survivors or killers that you wouldn't normally be playing with. So right now it says that, you know, you have a task as the Trapper, you have a task as Dwight, and you have a task as Jake. So just something to keep in mind, and basically another mission for you to complete. Now that about does it for this. I'm not going to go into the options. I mean, that's really up to you as to how you want to play and the controls and things like that. But that is basically the overview of what all of these different symbols and things mean. I'm going to do some more in-depth interviews with other aspects of Dead by Daylight because there's so much to cover. But like I said before, feel free to follow me on Twitch and ask me anything over there on my live stream. But if you found this video helpful, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more gaming content. And I will see you in the next video.